Welcome to +1, the series where each month I look at the free games on PlayStation Plus and tell you if they're worth the download. After all, the games may be free, but your time is valuable. For August of 2018, we have 2 PS4 games, a PSVR game, and a Jackbox knockoff phone game that requires friends to play. Since I don't have those, we'll be skipping the phone game and only covering Mafia 3, Dead by Daylight, and PSVR's Here They Lie. First up is Mafia 3, a 2016 open-world action-adventure game published by 2K Games. Even though I haven't played a Mafia game yet, I know that the first 2 are beloved by fans, so I'm excited to see how 3 turns out. Featuring a lovingly crafted city inspired by New Orleans, a world and soundtrack that are spot on to real-life's tumultuous late 1960s settings for better and worse, and an engaging narrative with pseudo-documentary elements, is Mafia 3 worth 20+ hours of your time and over 60 gigabytes on your hard drive? Yes, but only for 2 hours. Join me to find out why. In Mafia 3, you play as Lincoln Clay, a black man who's recently returned to his home of New Bordeaux from the Vietnam War right around Mardi Gras in 1968. There's already a lot to unpack here. The development team starts off by warning you that this is going to be relatively historically accurate to the year 1968. That means that you're going to hear language and be put into situations that you're hopefully not comfortable with. You'll hear comments about the Martin Luther King Jr. assassination. You'll see white women hold their purses a little bit tighter when you walk by. Mafia 3 pulls no punches in this regard. On top of that, the game pushes an incredible hook, jumping back and forth between a bank robbery and the events leading up to it, all in this crime drama style with interviews from investigators, congressional hearings. It's super unique for a game. The characters, if a bit tropey at points, are all great here. They feel like very real people from this very real era. At a certain point in the game, however, there's a twist, and that twist is absolutely fantastic. I don't want to spoil it because it deserves to hit you as hard as it hit me. You're filled with this desire for payback just as much as Lincoln is. Lincoln vows to take over New Bordeaux to exact his revenge, and you're right there with him, but this is where the game absolutely falls apart. It's been pretty well documented by now, but Mafia 3 feels like 2 very different games. All of what I've said so far has been some of the best hooking I've seen in recent gaming memory, but after that twist, the game becomes every open world game you've ever played. Piece by piece, you'll take down crime operations to draw out the leaders, killing said leaders, rinsing and repeating. So while the first 2 hours make you want to progress the plot, Lincoln wants to methodically take the city and drive fear into the hearts of his foes. As we learn pretty quickly, this is fitting considering he worked for the CIA in Vietnam and learned some pretty horrid war strategies. However, the gameplay just doesn't fit the narrative here. Almost without fail, the entire rest of the game boils down to this formula. You'll scout a crime racket's base of operations, such as heroin shipments or prostitution, cause monetary damage to said operations to lure the leader back into their base, and then take the leaders down, only to move on and do it again, working your way up the ladder. There's not much by way of variety once you get to the 2-hour mark in Mafia 3, and when you're there, you've still got 20 to 30 hours left to play. While the game's 10 actual crime bosses are pretty solid with more unique story and fight sequences, they still boil down to a lot of driving from point A to point B, shooting dudes, and then driving back to point A to find out where more dudes are. It's not that the gameplay is bad or anything either, it's perfectly serviceable. It's been said many times, but the game's formula feels like another Godfather game more than anything else, and those games were fine. The gunplay feels fine, actually, I would say it's even more than fine because the enemies react contextually to where they're shot, and not enough games do that. The driving, again, feels fine, and there's a simulation driving mode for you car game fanatics out there. The police are actually pretty hard to shake at points, which I like. It's all there. Mafia 3 even adds some nice tweaks to the formula, like giving you little direction pop-ups on the side of the road in addition to the best route on your minimap, or adding a speedometer and a rear view mirror on your HUD, although it's worth noting that the rear view mirror has some horrible noticeable pop-out that distracted me pretty often. However, the only thing I can say after calling the game and all of its systems fine is that I would also call the game boring. I love exploring the city, just driving around and taking in how beautiful this game is. Seeing the sunrise or sunset in Mafia 3, or seeing the actual fabric on different pieces of clothes, it's all stunning. But that's really all that I want to do. There's no incentive to continue seeking revenge when you know that you're going to be playing the same cookie-cutter mission structure. Games like GTA survive and thrive on using their worlds in unique ways, providing missions that differ from one another and stick out in your mind. Mafia 3 doesn't do that nearly enough. I'd go as far to recommend that you give Mafia 3 a shot though, just to see those first 2 hours. If you're a big fan of the more mindless variety of open world games where you're just sort of doing things to do things, Mafia 3 is certainly okay in that regard. If you're not, you'll subject yourself to one of the biggest bait and switches in gaming history, and you'll see why Mafia 3 makes me so sad. The promise is there, and the opening, the accurate world, all of it deserves all the praise it can get. The soundtrack is excellent, the game is beautiful. I mean, there are even actual Playboy magazines that you can find throughout the game in case you wanna read the articles. The padding in Mafia 3 is just unreal though, and I don't think I'd feel satisfied in beating it, just tired. If you do decide to beat it and go for the platinum, expect about 40 to 60 hours of game here, with maybe 5 hours being super fun in total. If you're watching this after the game comes off with PS Plus, it goes for $40 on PSN and about $10 to $20 in stores. Sadly, I would say you should pass either way at those prices. Also, quick note for those of you that might want the complete Mafia package, unlike most PS Plus games, the DLC and Season Pass for Mafia 3 are not on sale this month, so you'll have to shell out another $30 if you want all the added content. With all that said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and if you're new here, make sure you subscribe for more PlayStation Plus reviews, my main review series, countdown lists, all that fun stuff, and much more.